Hey, what's up, everybody? Talking a little bit about, I'm going to start off with ZOM and why you got to be careful with people that pump some of these stocks. Yes, stocks go up. Stock prices fluctuate naturally. But just looking at the company, right? I'm going to look back here where the company was. This company way back, and we're going to go through a couple of these companies basically all look the same, right? So this company basically, I don't know if they IPO'd way back here. It was a $2 stock. It quickly got demolished and became a penny stock. Out of nowhere, of course, out of nowhere, this company that was trading, and you always see this based off of the volume, right? So this was a 16 cents, right? The stock was trading, actually, excuse me, this stock was trading 8 cents, right? 8 cents and then 16 cents. And the volume was typically the same. The volume was typically back here, we were at 15, 30 million. The volume starts to kick in. And then all of a sudden you see these huge volume, 1 billion shares, right? So sometimes, of course, in the stock market is, if you have not understood that, because with GME and AMC, etc., like all these different stocks that were recently manipulated, right? You can look at GME, right? This is all stock market manipulation, right? You see the volume. Look at the volume, right? 2 million shares, 5 million shares, 4 million shares, etc. Right? They all look the same, right? All these charts look the same. And so, like I was saying, you'll see a lot of these stocks, and they all look the same, right? The volume will be 5 million or in the thousands, maybe 250,000 shares, etc. And then out of nowhere, there's a volume spike, right? You see volume spikes, volume spikes, volume spikes, and there's always a narrative, right? You see the same thing with Zomedica, and the exact same thing that happened with GME. Like the same thing. What was that other one? That car maker, Hertz. Hertz tried to do the same thing, right? You look at the Hertz stock when they were all blaming it on the Redditors, etc. And they all look the same, right? You'll see the penny stock, a huge volume comes in out of nowhere, then a narrative gets spun, right? They'll be like, oh, they're coming back, and the company does what? The Medica stock tumbles on heavy volume after public stock offering upsized sevenfold due to demand, right? And this is from the from the 9th. And a lot of times you see this, like, for example, some other stocks, right? And typically when you look at the companies, you just look down, right? You just look down and be like, how much money do they make? Oh shit, they lost money. Oh shit, they lost money again. Oh shit, they lost money again. Oh shit, they lost money again. And you can just go back, right? And just look at the history of the stock, and all you see is they're just taking an L. They're just taking an L. They're just taking an L quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter, right? Similar to other stocks, right? Similar to other stocks. A lot of these other companies, right? They lost a little bit less than expected, right? Lost 84 cents, right? Made 16 cents. Lost 81 cents, right? And this is repetitive. Lost 46 cents per share. Made 16 cents next quarter. Oh shoot. But they, of course, the street is expecting them to make more money, and they're like, sorry, we didn't. Right? Made 2 cents. And this is for a company that's valued at, what was it when it made 2 cents, right? It made 2 cents and the stock was trading at $106, right? Oh, we made 10 cents. The stock's trading at $400. We made 27 cents. 29 cents off, right? The company missed earnings by 51%. Company missed earnings by 76%. Right? Company, or is it? They made 10 cents. Their estimates, and of course, a lot of times these estimates they get revised in the middle, etc. But you look back at some of these companies, and you'll see the exact same thing. And this is typically what they look like. Or you look back at the company, and they look like this, right? They're trading very low volume, and then out of nowhere, the volume starts to get maxed. Now, of course, with this particular company, if you actually do a little bit of research, you'll find that the company was picked, right? And sometimes that happens. Like, for example, this is another example, right? Moderna is another example of a company that was picked to go up. right? This is an example of a company that was picked to go up, right? You might be thinking, well, both of these companies, right? Both of these companies sell the same sort of snake oil, right? If you haven't done any research, I advise you to do some research, right? On the little vaccines and how basically they're exact same. Look at the Moderna's vaccine. Moderna created their vaccine in 2 days, which I'm sure Pfizer, since they're literally interchangeable, right? If you do a little bit of research, Google, you'll find some articles. They're literally interchangeable. But why is it that the Pfizer CEO, easily verifiable, right? You can look it up, sold, right? He sold here. He sold 60% of his shares. The CEO sold 60% of their shares here. And according to the narrative, you would imagine they're going to be selling vaccines hand over fist. So why is the stock collapsing? Right? Every time the stock shoots up, what happens? Immediately, huge bearish selling takes place, right? Look at Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson is another one, but you're really not seeing, I mean, for the most part, the stock was holding below 152 and it made a whopping 10%, right? But they're also, look at that, look at AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is another company that is also in the vaccine business, but you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it based off of the chart, right? You wouldn't know it based off of the chart. And the reason being is because they were not the ones that were selected to go up. Now, if you actually do a little bit of reading on my other account, for those that don't know, I am a nurse, so I typically put out a lot of like the sort of medical information. If you don't know about Moderna, Moderna has never had a drug come to market. Never. They've never successfully brought a drug to market. And if you actually do a little bit more research, you'll find out that people are like, where's my order, right? They're like, where's my order? Where, like in Canada? Canada's my Moderna vaccine order? I don't know where it is. And then Moderna's like, I don't know. A little bit of research, and you find out some pretty interesting information. Of course, Moderna created their vaccine in 2 days, right? They were just like, you ain't got nothing to do this weekend? I ain't got nothing to do. Like, shit, all right, let's make a vaccine. Why not? Right? Those are just a little bit of tidbits. And of course, if you did your research, you would also find the exact same thing, that the CEOs of this exact same company were also doing the exact same thing that Pfizer did. At the high points, right? At the high points of the stock, they were just dumping. They were just dumping their shares on the open market. And of course, it's all, planned. Oh, we planned to sell at the high, Same thing with Pfizer. Pfizer CEO did the exact same thing. Pfizer CEO did the exact same thing, but of course, none of these other companies are benefiting. Only one. Reason being is because it was handpicked. That's just a reality. That was the company that was handpicked by the powers that be. This is where the money's going to be, right? Not here, right? Not by the companies that have been in the game for a minute, right? You look at Merck, right? Merck couldn't even bring a drug. Merck couldn't even bring a vaccine to market. Johnson & Johnson been in the game for a long time, right? And you look at some Astrazeneca, they've been in the game for a long time, and they're like, we can't do it. And you don't see it reflected in the stock price. Just the Moderna one, just Moderna. That's the reason being is because sometimes businesses get picked by the powers that be, right? Of course, it all comes with responsibility. It all comes with responsibilities. That is just a reality. If you do a little bit of research, especially for this one right here, you look back at 2018 and you started to see a real hard shift between men and women. And typically females were in more favor of EV vehicles. And then of course they just start pushing it, right? EV is the wave of the future. And then the government comes out and says, no more oil, right? No more oil. Oil is obsolete, right? EV is the wave of the future, right? And so a lot of these people are very well aware. And it's very similar with a lot of these small stocks like ZON or was it EasyGo? Like EasyGo, a lot of these stocks, they all look the same. They all look the same. It's just straight up in the air, straight back down. That's typically why, even though I might trade them, I typically don't promote them. I typically don't promote them because I know, especially if you're a new person, they're not companies that you necessarily can invest in. I mean, Tesla to the moon, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is another one. Bitcoin literally has no valuation, right? Bitcoin to the moon has no valuation. Ironically, which I talk to a lot of people, they don't understand. China seized like 300,000 Bitcoin. You can just Google it, right? I think it was last year, 2019, where Bitcoin started to become a little bit bigger in China. And then China was like, yeah, thank you. And they just seized like 300,000 Bitcoin out of nowhere. And then they just blocked a whole bunch of action out there in China. They were just like, yeah, we're not going to do this. But if you notice, most of the Bitcoin that you're buying is sold to you by China. Google it, right? And so China is in the game of selling things. That's all they do. That's all that they do. They're the hustler, right? China is just the hustler, and this is what they're hustling to people right now for whatever reason, whether it becomes something or not. But it literally has no intrinsic value, right? Because Bitcoin is not used for anything. If your phone dies, you have no way of getting it, right? Just like if the bank isn't open and you can't get money out of your account, right? You don't have the money, right? Unless you like they say, unless you hold it, you own it, right? So if you don't actually have money stashed away in your house and you can't get to the ATM, and for whatever reason you can't use your card, you're asked out. That's just a reality. And so this video is just really just to be very careful where you put your money, because at any moment they can just literally pull the floor out from under you. I'm going to look at Riot, right? Riot is another one. Riot is another company. This is not a new company. Not that new. We can look back. Right? We're going to look back at Riot, right? So for a lot of people who are looking at it, and I see people talking about Riot all the time, and they're like, Riot is the wave of the future. This is it. Not saying that there isn't a high sticker price for the stock, right? Not saying that there isn't a high sticker price for the stock, but I don't think this company, I don't think they made money, right? I don't think looking back that this company's made money. The other thing is that if you actually look back at the chart, so Riot right now, as you can see, huge volume, right? Huge volume. Where was the volume before? Right, the volume before was, this is a penny stock, right? Another one. This is another penny stock. It didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. It's just, this is the one that you hear. This is the one they just look around like, we pick you, right? Because most of these companies are like subsidiaries of other companies. And so it's like, you know, you're someone who is well known and in the upper echelons, and then they'll be like, all right, you're going to start this company and we're going to get back to you, right? So you're going to do us this favors. You're going to be under our protection. You're going to do favors for us, and then we're going to circle back to you. You know, we're going to pump you up. We're going to talk about Riot on the social media, and you're going to sell shares, etc. This happens very frequently. So it's just something to be aware, right? This is a company that was a penny stock. So looking at the company back, right? We're going to look back. We'll look back, right? So at one point, this should look familiar to what the chart looks like now, right? So you can imagine people who are buying, they're like, blockchain to the moon, right? Oh, it was a penny stock. It was down here at $3, right? Look back. It lost. How much was valuation? It was a $16 stock, and then it became a $3 stock overnight. You lost 80% of your money. And so you had to hold this company from 2015 all the way to almost till 2018 to get your money back, right? And then from here, it went from $4 all the way to $45. It went up 1,000%, right? You can see that it went up 1,000.4%. Was it making money like that? No. They were losing money. Lost almost $1 per share. Lost $1.12, right? Lost $1.33. Lost $1.78, right? Lost 46 cents, right? So this is what typically, so that's why I say you have to be very careful where you put your money, because you don't know. It's like what was that game that we used to play, musical chairs, where you never know when the music stops. That's why you have to be very careful. So maybe you'll invest maybe 5% of your money, but for some people are swinging for the fences, and look at it, literally within 2 trading days, right? Buy the dip, and you lose 50%. You lose 50% of your wealth, whatever, or you lose 50% of your account, right? And so people are like, buy the dip, hold the line, right? And then you holding, and then you holding, and then you holding, then you holding, and then you're holding, and then you're holding, and this thing becomes a penny stock, right? comes all the way down. What is it, 50 cents, right? And then that was back in what, 2020, and then 7 years later, right? I think that was back in 2014. Sorry, 2018. And it was like end of 2018, where it ironically looks very similar. So what do you think is going to be the outcome for Riot? People are like, this is the wave of the future. This is where it's at. More than likely, what you're going to see is you're going to see this for this company, and it's going to go right back to being a penny stock. And the reason I bring this up is if you go in and you dip your hand into the cookie jar, you have to know where you're going to get out, right? You take 20%, I'm going to take 50%, I'm going to take 100%. You might be able to, but these are typically not companies that are like to buy and hold. You can't sit here and say, look at the earnings, they're making more money, they're building up more revenue, they're going to pair with this, that, and other companies, etc. It's like, that doesn't happen. What does happening is that a company like this will start offering shares, right? And that's just the management at the top. And they're just like, let's make some more money as a last ditch effort, right? As a last ditch effort, let's flood, just like ZON, right? Just like ZOMedica, let's flood the market with these bullshit shares and let's dump them, right? We'll dump them for $2 a share, or $3 a share, or $70 a share, kind of like what Elon Musk did. But at the very least, there's money there. But it's like, if you do any sort of evaluation on the stock, it's like, anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because these are stocks that I typically see in the news, and of course I would not want anybody to get stuck in a lot of these positions, especially when these positions turn and then they of course work their way all the way back down. Last one I want to talk about is of course fuel cell, right? So like I said before, during the daytime there was quite a bit of movement in fuel cell. The stock did gap up and got out of most of my position. Took a little bit of a loss. The reason I got out of it is because, again, this company doesn't make any money. You can look back, and this is another zombie company. You look back at the chart, it looks very much the same, right? You can see this, right? Same sort of scenario, like I was talking about, right? You see, same sort of scenario. It gets pumped, and then, right? Same thing. It gets pumped, and then it's going to go down. So you might be able to dip your hand into the cookie jar, but the more it's just like going to the casino, right? Eventually, the house wins. Eventually, the house wins. So you just want to be very careful with some of these positions. And so even though, of course, we came all the way back up here, but where did the stock close, right? Like I said previously, where was the next layer, the next area of resistance, which is right where the stock closed, slightly above. So it could be, we could see a retest of 23 in the position, but if there's any sort of pressure on the market, the stock is just going to fall out of bed. Gonna leave it there. This video is way longer than I wanted. Thanks for watching. I'll check you next time.